I've read the papers that you've authored with others, of course, and I've been fortunate enough to do a lot of back and forth with you while I was trying to find out, how the incentive schemes work. Um, to that point, could you explain the basic architecture of Cardano's incentive scheme and why it exists?
Right. So basically the starting point, or the original observation, was that if you do it too naively, like for example Bitcoin does, then you run into problems. I mean, Bitcoin, it's basically just the more blocks you produce, the more money you get for it, the more rewards you get. And of course, there's also always an overhead in mining blocks. So and that overhead normally is like fixed, or at least it doesn't grow linearly, which means you can always save money by flogging together. So that's why in Bitcoin you have these mining pools. So it makes financial sense for people to gang together, save costs basically, and increase their rewards. But that, of course, is not what you want from the point of view of a fan of decentralization and blockchain enthusiast. I mean, you don't want to be there very few powerful pools. You want to have many medium-sized or small pools, ideally. So that was the basic observation, that if you do it too simple, if you just pay basically flat rewards for each block that's produced, then that has this problem that that you get few powerful big pools, and you basically end up with a more or less centralized system. So from the very beginning, when we designed the incentives for Cardano, we wanted to avoid that. And I mean, in Bitcoin, it still sort of kind of works, because people are aware of that, and then they basically give up. I mean, they don't just maximize their profits, and instead they know it's bad for the system, so they restrain themselves. And we wanted to design a system where that's not necessary, where basically everybody can just behave rational and try to maximize profit. And even though everybody does that, you still get a nice decentralized system. So that was the main design goal, and we have various mechanisms to achieve that. So basically the simplest one is that we cap rewards once a pool reaches a certain size that's parameterizable, that size. So if a pool grows larger than that, then the pool rewards don't increase anymore. So it also doesn't sink, but it is capped at that value. And because if it grows larger and larger, then that same fixed amount at that cap value has to be split amongst more and more people. So every individual contributor to that pool gets less. So that's the basic idea, how we prevent pools from growing too large. So right. And then of course there are all sorts of refinements. We also have this protection against Sybil attacks. So we basically ask pools to have skin in the game, to put their own money into their own pools. Then they can slightly increase their rewards, which has the effect that if they try a Sybil attack, which means basically creating many fake identities and fake pools, then obviously they can't put equally much money into each of those copies. So the rewards are slightly less, and that's supposed to prevent that from happening. So there are modifications in the formula. The actual formula looks complicated, but the idea is actually very simple. Just that, I mean, more or less proportional scheme. The bigger pool, the more reward it gets, but with these modifications that prevent pool from getting too large.